Hi, so I wanted to share my story about my ectopic pregnancy. There's not a lot of resources for people's experiences. I found a handful, and my experience was different than what theirs was. So I just wanted to kind of be a resource for women who were diagnosed with this and share my story about how the pregnancy was different than other pregnancies that I've had. So I'll start from the top. So I had a fever about 6 days after ovulation. I thought it was just, flu season, so I wasn't too concerned about it. We were trying, so I tested on 2 days before my missed period, and it came out negative. And I hadn't started one day late, so I tested, and it showed up with a very, very, very faint line. Like, so much so where I showed my husband, and he was like, no, there's no line there. So by that time, usually you'll have a significant line. 5 days early, you'll get a really light line, but it was kind of unusual for it to be that light after you're already late. So at that point, I called my doctor and said that I believed that I had a positive test, and we got tested, and my HCG at that time was, 32. So 32 is really, really low. They were like, most people don't know that they're pregnant whenever it's that low. So it's surprising that it even showed up on a test at all. Still had a fever. And then I started bleeding 6 days after that. And so this was January 4th, which was so I was, between 4 and 5 weeks along. I got my blood tested again. My HCG was 60. We did an ultrasound, no sac, nothing. They couldn't find anything. And then I got another blood test on the 20th, so I was 7 weeks. I'd had another ultrasound between now and then, nothing happened. Whenever I tested at 7 weeks and 2 days, my HCG was 3,700, over 3,700. So at that point, usually you can see a sac, you can see possible heartbeat. We still couldn't find anything on the ultrasound. They would just check and check and check, and they couldn't find anything. They looked in my tubes, they looked ovary, they're like, you're pregnant, it's showing up, but we don't know where it is. And then I started a cycle, like totally normal cycle, normal flow, had cramping, had back pain. Thought it was just a nice, clean, not nice, it's never nice to have a miscarriage, but I just thought it was taking care of itself. Called my doctor on that Monday. They wanted me to come in for blood work on Tuesday just to make sure that my HCG was going down, and my HCG had gone up to 5,700. So it was almost 6,000, it almost doubled. So we were now looking at another ultrasound, and still nothing. The lady had, she was looking in all sorts of places, and then finally she found something at it looked like it was either in the very top of my uterus or it was in the tube. And then she called the doctor in, and the doctor said that's an ectopic. No heartbeat on the scan. And then so they said, this is ectopic, you need to do methotrexate. So I went to the hospital. The methotrexate was an injection, and it's a chemotherapy drug, so you have the nausea and fatigue that goes along with that. It's supposed to dissolve the mass in the tube. So I did that, and about 6 days later, symptoms wise, it just sort of feels like you're more pregnant. I had all the nausea and fatigue that went along with this pregnancy, so I I just felt more tired and more nauseous. I lost about 8 pounds during this month and a half that this was going on. I just couldn't eat anything. And then a week after that, so this was on a Wednesday, whenever I had my injection. The very next Wednesday, I woke up I'd had some pain the day before on my right side, which was where it was stuck. And I had called the doctor. She said, go to the hospital. And I said, I don't know if it's, that severe, but I'm going to wait. And then so I waited, and then that night, in the middle of the night, I woke up at 1. I couldn't sleep through the pain. It was just on the one side. My husband said, let's go to the hospital, so we did. They did an ultrasound, and since it was just in a really weird place, they couldn't find anything. They said it looked like it's been dissolved. So, they were like, why are you in so much pain? And I was like, you tell me, I'm not the doctor here. So they gave me morphine, called my doctor. They got there by maybe 11 o'clock in the morning, 10. And then we talked about surgery. She said, let's just do an incision. We can go in there with a camera and look. And if there's nothing wrong, then we can just sew up a small incision. And I said, that sounds fine. I'm in a lot of pain. That's why I'm here. Let's, figure out what's going on. So I went into surgery. This was 9 weeks along. It was 1 week after Methotrexate. And they went in there, and it was huge. The mass was 3 centimeters. They did a blood test earlier that morning. My HCG was still going up even after the Methotrexate, so it was still continuing to grow. So your tubes are supposed to be about 1/2 centimeter in diameter, and mine were stretched to 3 centimeters. It hadn't ruptured, luckily, but there were tears in it, so I was actually bleeding internally. She was very glad that I came in when I did, because it could have ruptured easily within the next few days. I was really, I did lose the tube. If you don't have the tube removed whenever it's suffered that much damage, then scar tissue can grow, and you are more likely to get another ectopic on that side. And it was just too damaged, so I ended up losing that tube on that side. The surgery went really well. The incisions were very small. It's a laparoscopic surgery, so you only have 3 tiny little incisions. It took me about a week to feel comfortable walking around after that surgery, but now I'm back to normal. It's after about maybe 3 weeks, I was already jogging, and getting back to life. So it's not the end of the world. I really feel for you if you're going through this. I'm sorry this happened to you. It was a really shitty thing that happened to me, that I just wanted to share with you guys. I hope that helped.